What I think is the only live predictions forecast on YouTube based on astrology. So, hey, if somebody else is doing it, more power to them, but I try to do this stuff. So basically what you see around me here, this is Sri Jyoti Star 7 Pro. I absolutely love it. It was written by Andrew Foss, brilliant programmer, really knows what he's talking about when it comes to Vedic astrology. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically flip through the software here, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at what's going on in the sky. And actually, if you're just tuning in, this is April 1st, and this is actually kind of scary what we have going on here, because taking a look at this, this is actually kind of a holdover from the 31st when we were going to be having the full moon. So if you remember, if you tuned in last week, I was talking about how the full moon on the 31st of March is going to be conjunct the Mercury and Sun here, and then it's also going to be square. You can see Mars and Saturn are almost exactly. So here, I'll tell you what, I'll flip back a day here. So if we go back here, trust me, I know you. So if we go back a day, you can see the full moon here is pretty much square all of this energy. And so these planets, Saturn and Mars coming together, is a very violent combination. Generally, when these two come together, they don't like each other. So Mars is all about getting stuff done, action, and Saturn's about like restrictions, not allowing you to do what you want to do. When these two come together, they naturally conflict. And this is in the sign of Sagittarius. Now, this is the Vedic zodiac, the sidereal zodiac, if you're not used to it. So, if you want to put this into Western context, you want to add 25 degrees to this chart, okay? I use Vedic because I find it more accurate, okay? So we have this planetary conjunction of the full moon here on the 31st. And then when we go over here to the 1st, April 1st on Easter, we have Mercury conjunct the Sun exactly here in the sign of Pisces, Saturn and Mars exactly conjunct here in the sign of Sagittarius. Now, one of the things that I'm thinking about is I want to take a look at the astrocartography because this shows a high propensity for terrorism here. So let's take a look at where this conjunction is happening. All right, Mercury Sun, this is going through, let's see, it looks like pretty much Canada, and so this looks pretty innocuous. I'm not too worried about this. Now, when Mars and Saturn are coming together, this is going through Russia, Japan, and Australia. So could be a rough day for these countries, especially too, I mean, you could kind of look here. So anywhere within this general area could be violent. I don't know what would be going on in Japan or anything like that, but if you can look, this is almost going exactly through Tokyo. So this is the area of the world I think we want to keep an eye on when it comes to April 1st, okay? If you're in this area of the world, just kind of be careful. I'm not saying that something's definitely going to happen, but when you take these conjunctions and you put it together with astrocartography, it gives you a very good idea of where stuff can happen. And so what I'll do is I'll close this and I'll go back to the chart here. So what we got going on right here is we got these two double conjunctions. So I'm going to start going through the month. So as you can see, what's going to happen is this is going to still be going on the 2nd. And then as we start getting into the 3rd, Saturn and Mars are going to start pulling away from each other. Other things that we are going on, I don't see anything significant. Jupiter is still in retrograde. It looks like we got a couple. Actually, no, the trine action doesn't matter because this is the ascendant, and that's kind of irrelevant to mundane predictions unless you're looking at a specific country. Okay, so for all intents and purposes, I want you to ignore the ascendant here and the aspects to it. Next time I will actually modify my chart so we don't have to look at that. So this is going to be square Venus here. So this is actually a pretty good one. Venus square Saturn and Mars. Good, actually, you know what? I'm reading this and I think this might be a good day to take action on relationships. Venus is in Aries, and when Venus is in Aries, usually it means like you take the meaning of Aries, which is like a very aggressive, outgoing sign, and put it together with Venus, which is love and happiness and all this. And this could actually mean some initiation in some relationships. So I'm going to say if you're in Aries, good time, especially Sun, Moon, or Ascendant in Aries or in Libra, good time to actually go out and kind of play the field. So you like that stuff? Play the field, if you will. All right, so moving on here, the 4th. Let's see, not seeing much. So we've got Mars and Saturn. They're still close to conjunct, but Mercury is pulling away from the Sun. Let's see, Sun is still in the sign of Pisces. Venus is still good here. Moon is moving around. We're getting close to the new moon here. Let's see, we're on the 9th, the 10th. Let's see, not seeing anything too major yet. So really what I'm looking for is when planets are conjunct or they change signs, or the other thing too is the when a new or full moon, when those are conjunct apart, or planets going retrograde. Those are the things that I'm looking for in a mundane chart. Let's see, so Mercury's still in retrograde, going to the, let's see, 13th. Everything's still looking okay. Okay, Sun is moving into Aries on the 14th, okay? Generally, Aries Sun, the Sun does extremely well in Aries. That's a sign of exaltation, especially around 10 degrees. That is the specific, actually I might get that wrong. It might be 20 degrees. But anyway, the Sun is exalted in the sign of Aries. So, you know, if you're in Aries and you have a lot of good planetary placements here, this is actually going to add a little bit fuel to that fire of the lust and the love. So moving on here, everything, okay, so Mercury just came out of retrograde. So as the Sun is moving into the sign of Aries, Mercury will be stationing here. So really, and then also too, the Moon's going to be present in there. So the thing is, all of this emotional upheaval that we've been feeling is going to kind of ease a little bit around mid-month. But then if you take a look here, Saturn is going to be going retrograde. So then we got the Moon, Venus, and Sun working its way into Aries around the 7th. Okay, so then here we are on the 17th to the 18th. That is when the Saturn is going to be going stationary and going retrograde. Retrograde Saturn forces you to look at everything on the inside, kind of how you process things. Still in the sign of Sagittarius, and then of course now we want to look to any aspects or conjunctions that Saturn has here. I'm not seeing anything major. So Saturn, yeah, it's going to be standalone, retrograde, stationary. So it's only going to be a big factor if you have any planets conjunct or opposed that general area. And we're looking at about 15 degrees right in the middle of the sign of Sagittarius. That's actually pretty strong for in the Vedic system. So let's see, it's still going to keep going retrograde. I just forgot the new moon. The new moon is actually going to be in the nakshatra of Ashwini. And so Ashwini is really about new beginnings, starting things over again. So this is really going to be the last half of April is going to be a very pivotal month for the sign of Aries because I see all this, the new moon being in Ashwini, Venus being there, the sun transiting there. So yeah, very active month for let's see, very active month for Arians. And also too, Saturn having its effect on the sign of Mars. Since Mars rules the sign of Aries, Saturn does play an effect on it. Specifically, it is 9 houses away. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's in an auspicious house. So anyway, going backwards, Saturn retrograde covered the new moon. I think for 420, if you want to go out and get high, should go out and get high. Well, Saturn's conjunct Uranus, so maybe you can blow smoke out of it. Anyway, yeah, go get high and have fun. Anyway, yes, I am advocating marijuana use. It's a good thing, especially when done in excess. Sorry, kids, I'm a bad influence. Anyway, no, of course, if you know me, I have a sense of humor. Venus is now in the sign of Taurus. Good position for Venus. Venus is actually not exalted. I would say the sign of Taurus is about number 2 or number 3 on its probably the best placements. So really, Venus being in Taurus is really good for making investments, taking action on like maybe going out and buying some art, going out and enjoying beauty. So dance and the arts too usually flourish when Venus is in the sign of Taurus. So this is a good thing. Let's see, moving on. I am not seeing any other retrogrades here. So Mars is starting, if you can see right here, Mars is starting to creep up on the sign of Capricorn. Now this is where it's going to get very funky for the rest of the year. Moving on, I don't remember. I don't think there was anything else major going on here. We don't have any other retrogrades. Nothing is changing signs for the rest of the month. So moving here though, this is where when we start getting into May, Mars is going to start being the planet of focus because what's going to happen is it's going to move into the sign of exaltation in Capricorn. And when Mars is in Capricorn, it's powerful. And now the other issues that we're going to want to care, I'm sorry, the other thing that we're going to want to keep our eyes on here is the south node of the moon in K2. So when Mars goes retrograde at the end of June, it's going to be conjunct K2. And when Mars goes retrograde, it stays in a sign for like 6 months. So just think about that. Mars in its sign of exaltation for 6 months. 2 years ago, it went retrograde in the sign of Scorpio, and it was in Scorpio conjunct Saturn for 6 months. So luckily, we will not have the influence of Saturn here, but we will have the influence of the south node of the moon, which really acts like another kind of Mars. So lots and lots of Martian energy unleashed in the sign of Capricorn. So that's going to be interesting. So that is all I had for today. I really hope you enjoyed this. So if you would like and subscribe, if you liked what you heard, please do that or share me out. Or if you want to invite other people to this channel, always appreciated. So thank you and stay safe around April 1st, around Easter.